Greetings, Judah. DFG here, Gideon's Flight. Hey, my brothers. Just wanted to take some time this morning, spend some time with my brothers this morning, and just kind of remind you again, really remind us again on this next day. If you're following, our calendar, which I struggle following it. I don't know about you. I'm talking about the Hebrew calendar, and and you're not sure how to, how to call out these days without, using the pagans' terms for these days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, etc. Then I guess I would have to call this the fifth day. So on this fifth day morning, I wanted to take some time and just kind of discuss a few things with my brothers, and if the sisters are here, then as always, you're welcome to listen in. Just remember, you're going to be among the conversation of men, and sometimes those conversations can be a little hard, you know what I'm saying? And you may not always, from an emotional standpoint, be able to embrace it, for lack of a better word. But you're always welcome, sister. Just, I'll say this, in love, leave your feelings at the door, okay? Because again, I'll continue to tell you this, regardless of how harsh, my speech might be. Never confuse it with a lack of love for my people, a lack of love for my sisters. That is just sheer nonsense if that's what you think. I love you with a perfect love. And, again, you're my sisters, you're my moms, and you're my daughters. So you're my family. So that's said. Back to you, my brothers. In this continual struggle, and we were talking about this the other day, are we really understanding the root cause? What's behind, the misery? What's behind the suffering? What is behind, our inability to really hearken to Elohim? And I say that to you, brothers, sincerely, because, again, I want to break the yoke. I want to break the chain of the truth versus religion. Because, see, I see religion almost as though, our ancestors, I'm sure, would have saw slavery as a chain around their neck, holding them back from being truly free, physically free. I see religion as a chain around our people's neck, our men's neck, women too, holding us back from truly being spiritually free. And I refuse to just sit on the sidelines and pretend like it's not there. And again, as an elder, brother amongst brothers, I'm going to use whatever days I have left of this life to talk to you. And I'm going to ask you, to tolerate me. What I mean by tolerating me is I'm going to ask you to at least give an ear. I'm not even going to ask you to agree, but I'm going to ask you to practice good, wise, sound logic. Just hear a brother out. Just hear me out. And if you're willing to do that, then you would have given me more than, our people gave the Messiah. More than many of our people to this day given to Yahuwah, if you would give me that. And for that, I would be much, much not only indebted to you, but I would also truly appreciate, your thoughtfulness, and your act of kindness to your brother. And why saying that, if you find this message any kind of way enlightening, educational, informative, then I'll ask that you like it, because that's going to give it more algorithm so it goes to more people. And then I'm going to ask that you share it, because at the end of the day, we're judged by our fruit. In other words, we have to produce of our works have to be productive. And if we don't share, if you're not willing to share, then you're just limiting our productivity, my productivity, for taking the time to share the message, your productivity, for, disregarding the message in terms of if it helped you, it could help others. Okay? But I'm going to talk to you about two things today. Two things. One a historical fact, because I think they tie in, and I'm going to talk to you, about what's written in the book, and it's going to be in the book of Ezekiel. And again, let me again, what the world calls the Bible, what we were taught as the Bible, that term in itself, Bible, I think the etymology, in other words, is linked to, believe it or not, Hinduism, the word I'm talking about. That's enough for you to be able to at least step back and say, okay, I'm not going to call it Bible anymore. That's the only reason I bring it up. If you struggle with that, because many of our brothers, at the moment someone says Bible, first thing they say is, I don't want to hear nothing about no religion. But in all truth, our book is it never should have been called the Bible. There's nowhere in our history of our people, I'm talking about the ancient ones, our forefathers, none of them would have referenced the Torah using the word Bible. That they just would not have done that. That is a paganistic word that would have been forbidden amongst Israel. Just so you know, Israelite brother. That word would have been, so if you reject the word Bible, hey, you have a compadre. You know what I'm saying? You have a fellow soldier in me. Because I also reject the word. I use the word because the word is relative. It helps us to know what I'm talking about. Because, again, we were all socially engineered with that word. But inside of that word was a hidden truth. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that hidden truth inside of that word. And that is our history book. So when you hear me talking about, Ezekiel or Jeremiah or any of our forefathers, I'm just talking about our history, okay? So whenever you follow along with me or you open up your history book to learn about your ancestors who wrote a lot of information, who left a lot of information, to encourage us and direct us, inspire us, to warn us, then, you truly understand the treasure that was hidden from you, hidden from us in plain sight, and labeled, a paganistic name, to ensure that, somewhere in the distant future, as far as those who put this label on our history book, they knew that somehow or another it would pause in the minds of our men and women, and they wouldn't even want to touch it, let alone open it up and study it, because they would look at it as a form of oppression. But in truth, it isn't. All right? And if you take some time, explore, independently on your own and collectively as a group, I think you'll begin to see what I mean. Okay? I think you'll begin to understand why I'm so passionate about reminding you this is our history book. It's not a religious tool, although we were told that it was. Because if we're going to fix ourselves, for lack of a better word, then that's not going to happen without the guidance of our book. Every culture has a culture. They have principles, they have values, they have morals, because they embrace their history. Every culture. The only culture that does not possess that, unfortunately, is our culture. Because we were told that we had no culture, or whatever culture we had, it was all intertwined into African slavery, which is sheer foolishness. That is buffoonery. We go we go far beyond African slavery. Truth be told, we're not even Africans. We sojourned on that continent, running from heathens. And we hid there. No different than Joseph hid in Africa, Moses hid in Africa, and Yeshua hid in Africa, who the world knows as Jesus. They all hid in Africa because of the melanin. It was easier for us to, to integrate ourselves them in there to hide from our natural enemies. All right? So, but we were here long before so-called Africa, was a foundational place for our people. So don't get stuck there, I guess is what I'm saying to you. Don't get stuck with that. Understand that our book goes far beyond Africa, and our book takes us far beyond America. In other words, this book takes us to the end of mankind. And therefore, in your wisdom, my brother, you should open up your heart to learn what's inside that book. And again, never equate it with religious dogma anymore. I know you were taught that way. I was taught that way. But you remove the chain, just like our forefathers fought against slavery. They fought. Don't believe the lies out there that somehow or another our men and our women sat down and accepted it. Don't believe that Harriet Tubman and Denmark Vesey and Nat Turner and Gabriel Prosser were the only people who fought against the injustice of slavery. That is lies. Go back and look up the slave revolt of 1811 in Louisiana, this very state that I'm in. How our people fought by the hundreds and died to be liberated, to be free. In our core self, we are freedom fighters. But we have forgotten that because we have forgotten who we were, who we are. We don't know who we are because we have forgotten whose seed we are. We're from a long line of warrior men, a long line of providing men, a long line of entrepreneuring men. In other words, men who had their own occupations. A long line of compassionate men who cared about their brothers and their daughters and their sons and their mothers and their fathers. We're from a long, line of men who always understood that a direct line of communication between the prophets, the messengers, and Elohim, the creator, was the very foundation which makes life essential. So it's not a strange thing, for us to have a strong relationship with Yah. That is not strange. It's not weak. It's not impotent. As a matter of fact, it's very masculine. Our creator is a masculine creator. He's masculine. And you will never know anything about him if you listen to or you depend on the tail bearers. And just for the record, the tail bearers, those are the religious, leaders, among us. Under the titles of preacher and pastor and priest and imam and whatever else they call themselves. The so-called Christians. That in itself is I would call at best an oxymoron. Because the very essence of what they call Christianity is the foundation of bigotry, hatred, selfishness, bitterness, and rejection of the Creator. At least in its truth, because the very Christians are the ones out here who taught us to hate the Torah. That it was not necessary. That it was garbage. It was done away with. You don't need all of that. And yet they tell you they love Elohim. So I say that to you as a prelude to this message is the fact that open up just enough to say, let me see if I can learn something that I can take away from my brother today. That's all I'm asking, all right? And so we're going to look at the book of Ezekiel. But also, before we go there, if you were following me a couple of days ago on the message, to men's only, I was going to reference, a book, and that book was called Least We Forget. And then, we were running out of time, and I felt like I had taken enough time, so I stopped and decided not to grab that book from my library of books. And that's something else I want to say to you, my brothers. Your reading does not have to be, our book, our history book, talking about what the world calls the Bible. I know you're going to get rid of that word because we're working hard to rid ourselves of that pagan word. But our reading, our learning consists of more than that. That's our foundational truth. In other words, it's the foundation in which we build from. But there are other things that you put on top of the foundation if you're trying to build, in other words, to finish your works, to finish your construction, for lack of a better word, okay? And so there's other information. There are other books that you can go to, and that will help you get a better understanding of the struggles of our people. Because it's easy to label black men as, anti-family. It's easy to label black men as, slothful. It's easy to label black men as toxic, angry, violent. But never, when they put all those labels on us, do they consider, maybe this challenge, maybe this perceived notion of us, has a root cause that isn't being discussed. Well, it's being discussed, but it's being discussed to marginalize us. They bring up, slavery. They bring up history and Black History Month. Dr. King's Day celebration. Jubilee and all of this stuff. Yeah, they bring that up. Voting Rights Act. They give us all this token talk to give the impression that, that they hear us and they understand us and they understand and they feel our pain. But in truth, those are just throwaway statements and throwaway programs. In other words, nonsense. This stuff to distract us as a people so that they can never identify and recognize the hurt, the pain that they have caused us. Now, granted, we kind of put ourselves in this predicament, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm not going to stick right there, but I'm going to tell you why. We kind of put ourselves in this predicament and contrary. This is why I tell you that we can't trust the church no more. At least not organized religion. We can't trust it anymore because they never told us this. But you know why we're in the situation we're in the captivity that we're in? Why Deuteronomy, chapter 28, towards the end of that chapter, talks about the re-enslavement of our people. See, what they didn't tell us is that we caused this by rejecting the Torah. See, our situation and why Elohim, who many of you may now or may have, I hope you're changing your heart, may have rejected Elohim. You may have rejected Elohim under the guise of religion and thinking that religion was Elohim. And since things were so horrific in your lives and our lives, in no way, there is a creator. There is no way there is a God using that word. It can't be. I don't believe in that foolishness. In all truth, one thing has nothing to do with the other. The church and the church organization were put in place to hide from us the truth so that we would not walk away from the bondage of that the spiritual bondage that religion caused. And that we would never be exposed to what happened. The story behind the story is what I shared a couple of days ago. And what actually happened is that our people, our men in particular, can't even put this on the sisters. Can't put this on our women. Yeah, our women have been at times wayward, out of bounds, dishonorable towards Elohim. I ain't talking about to us, I'm talking about dishonorable towards Elohim. Whatever happened between us and them, I think that's kind of even Steven. We've been just as dishonorable to them as they have been to us. And since we are taught to do things with a just scale, then I think it's a net zero in terms of who did what to who. We're all guilty of doing things to one another. But that spirit of resentment towards each other has a root cause. And that root cause is the fact that we turned away from the Torah. That's why Elohim put this harsh judgment on us, because we rejected him. And because we rejected him, what he did is that he turned his head away from us. And he allowed our enemies to come in as a form of chastisement to us. Chastisement. And their chastisement to us was brutal. Brutal. When I say brutal, unmerciful. In many cases, it's still that way towards us. And unfortunately, we have learned to accept it, tolerate it, be almost created some sense of normalcy out of it. I mean, when these people, put all these harsh burdens on us, we kind of, well, that's how it is, man. You know how it is. You know how America is, man. You know these races. You know this. And all of that is true. All that's true. This country hates us. This country, have poisoned our people, poisoned our water, poisoned our food. All that's true. But what we don't consider is that this is happening to us to get our attention. And I'm going to share that with you. This is happening to get our attention. In other words, the church refused to tell us the truth. The church literally set us up for this. Because the church told us just wait on white Jesus to come. Or black Jesus, or whatever color Jesus they want to paint. Wait on him to come. He'll come and he'll fix all your problems. And for the last 100 years or more, many of us waited. And we're still waiting. And guess what? You'll be waiting. Because there ain't no white Jesus coming nowhere. That's made up. That's a well-told lie that was sold to our people to keep our people complacent, to keep our people ignorant to who we are, ignorant to the laws, ignorant to our custom, ignorant to how to build, ignorant to everything. Just kept us, in a state of subjugation. And now in the end, as Daniel said, knowledge would be increased. Our prophet Daniel said that in the end days, that our knowledge would be increased. And the wise amongst us would understand what happened and what is happening. And we would share it with the others. But he said the wicked amongst us, the hard-hearted amongst us, said they're not going to listen. And if that fits you, brother, then we're not going to think it's strange that you don't want to hear what we're talking about here. I guess this conversation is just not for you. You're not ready for this conversation. But for the brothers out here who's saying, okay, I don't know if I'm ready for this conversation, but I'll give you ear, DFG. Talk to me. Then I'm talking to you. I am talking to you. All right? You have my attention now. What's the saying? It says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. If you're ready, here I am. Okay, here I am. And I say that, brothers, I think from a leadership standpoint, every leader should have some credentials. What I mean by credentials, I'm not talking about a letter of approval from the heathens, their colleges and their organizations and their societies. I'm talking about life credentials. They should have put in some work that's reflective of their ability to lead. And that could be the harshness of the streets and how they survived in those streets. It could be, years of in industry, corporate America, and how they were able to strive in that hostile environment when it comes to our people. And sisters, this applies to you, but I'm talking to the brothers, as y'all know. And it could become in terms of the knowledge of our biblical history. Using that word again, I'm sorry. But I want you to understand what I'm talking about here. So I have to throw that word in here. Well, I said that to you that my validation, what validates me is the fact that I've been studying this since 1984. You heard me right. I've been studying our book since 1984. I've been teaching it since 1984. Off and on. I haven't been consistent with it. For some years, I got caught up in corporate America and thought that that was the way out of the ghetto. And, was working my way up the food chain, only to realize that except I sold my soul to the powers that be, that I would never be accepted, and I refused to sell my soul to them. And I probably didn't sell out to them, because in selling out to them, I would have to sell out to us. You notice all of your high-level executives never come back to us, brothers. Y'all notice that? When they get into these positions of real authority, where they can really bring about change, you notice they kind of disappear. They give us little token words. They show up for the Thanksgiving turkey giveaway. They throw a concert, you know what I'm saying, to give you free tickets. Have you noticed that? They give you idle words, slogans, fancy slogans. They become toothless tigers. And I'm talking about in every sphere. Every sphere, whether it's entertainment, whether it's in, corporate America, even in religion. It's just all a bunch of tokenism. Give them food and give them entertainment, and they'll be okay. And that's the offer that was offered to me. Well, you can do all these things, DFG. You can be a vice president for us, DFG. And I'm talking about the major retailer told this to me, man to man, person to person, sitting in that executive office. If you want to be the senior vice president, in this instance, I'm going to tell you it was Sam's Club. You can vet it, find it out. No secret there. We see that in your career. And I'm talking about a man in my early 30s. That's what I was told. But within a few years, I was also told indirectly, don't help your people. Don't help your people. That's not what this is all about. They are the labor. We're not interested in you advancing them. Advance yourself, do what we tell you to do, and all will be good for you. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I was from the inner cities. I knew the word. You know what I'm saying? By then, I guess that was 84 is when I picked up the book. Picked it up with an intent to understand the book. And 92, 93, about 10 years later is when they were offering me the prizes. Sort of like when Yeshua was brought up into the mountain by Satan and said, you can have the glory of everything. And he said, what he told him, he said, see all this that you see? This is what Satan told the Messiah. Brothers, y'all, I don't know if y'all know this, but Satan told the Messiah, he told him that if he would bow down and worship him, in other words, if he would allow his heart to be turned against his own people, that he would give him all the glory and all the power of all the kingdoms on the earth. And Yeshua, you know what Yeshua said? He said, no way. It ain't worth it. It's not worth it. And that offer was made to your brother. Maybe not all the power, but if it's Walmart, $1 trillion company, damn near. I said no. I'm talking about not that initial conversation with, you can have all this. It's just later on when I realized that to have it means to not pass down the knowledge to my brothers and to my sisters and to the stranger. And if I couldn't be who I was, I couldn't stay who I was in my inner self, then I didn't want it. And so when I refused to cooperate with them, they pretty much said, well, then we're going to put a ceiling on your career. But I'm telling you that I think I would have taken a bait if I didn't have a foundation from the book. I think if I had not studied the book prior to that, I think I would have been more than willing, to sell my soul like so many others have done in all of the industries that I just mentioned. And that's why they don't come back to us. They do token things, But they're not going to come back with their heart. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't really love you. They love the idea of being amongst us, the idea of being associated with us, but they don't love the idea of giving it all up for us. And that includes, you Obama lovers out there. Obama did more for homosexuals and gays and immigrants than he ever began to think about doing for our people. And the lie that was told us was that, he can't do that for just us, but he did it just for just them. He had no problem when he was pushing their agendas or supporting their agendas. But when we, asked for this so-called black president to come and now, right all the wrongs that were done to us, we were told, well, he you can't expect that of him. And what he proved to us that if we could expect it of him all we wanted, but all we were going to get is chastised and called a bunch of hoodlums and and thugs and go home and take care of your damn family and pull your whatever the hell he said. Not about that. Not about him. It's about the truth. And our book said that we should know the truth. You know what I'm saying? And that we should never embrace lies, no matter how clever, crafty, inviting, beautiful they might be. We shouldn't even believe the lies that come from the people who have melanin in them. Because many of our people love to lie too, and y'all know that, brothers. Many of us were notorious liars. Some of you still are, and you know it. You got to get out of that. You lie because you're hiding your truth. You're afraid of your truth. And because you're afraid of your truth, you find the lies, because the lie you believe will advance you or at least, protect you. But let me remind you, no lie lasts forever, brothers. No lie lasts forever. All you're going to get is temporary appeasement. Because that lie is going to get found out. It's going to get found out. And you're better served if you just say, you know what, let me repent of this behavior. Let me go to Elohim and find out how to strengthen my resolve. If I got to take some hits because I was wrong, I got to take some hits because I made some bad decisions, then take them hits. Yeah, that's what men do. Men accept responsibility for their decisions. Men accept being held accountable for their decisions. So just be a man about it. But again, when you start looking at where this stuff started at, well, let me share something with you. If you think for 1 second, first of all, yes, we rejected Elohim, and because we rejected Elohim, Elohim allowed our enemies to place us into captivity with all malice. In other words, with all hostility. Killing, maiming, raping, stealing, robbing, selling, kidnapping, maiming, scientific experiments, drugging us up, you name it. All these things Elohim allowed. Not because he hated us. It's because our behavior, when we refuse his laws, his statutes, his commandment, it sent him a strong signal that we hated him, that we weren't interested in who we were as the true children, true men, first women. And we told him, no, we don't want you. We want a king. In other words, we want what the heathens have. Now, that's biblical, by the way, brothers. Some of y'all may not have known that. Go back and read, I want to say 1 Samuel, First Chronicles. Go back and read what Saul became. How did Saul become king? Saul became king because the people rejected Elohim. Samuel went to the people and told the people, y'all don't want no king. Y'all don't want to be like the heathen. They said, yes, we do. Yes, we do. We want to be like them. We want what they have. Seems to us they having fun over there. And over here, our fun is controlled. Expecting too much of us. We want to be careless. We want to sleep with who we want to sleep with. We want to take what we want. We want to act out our most perverse fantasies. And since they're doing all that over there and they got many gods, all we have is one Elohim, we want that. And Samuel brought that to Elohim. And Samuel was distraught. Samuel was one of our major prophets, messengers. He was distraught. He was angry. He was bitter. He was hurt. He like, how could they reject you, Elohim? How could they reject you for the heathens' gods? He said, I'm in a place of pain. What Samuel said. Because our forefathers caused him that pain. He said, man, I love the people because I'm of the people. And yet the people hate you, Elohim. They reject you. They want a king. And Elohim told Samuel, look, don't worry about it. I'm going to give them what they want. They'll regret it, but I'm going to give them what they want. And by the way, Samuel, remember, they didn't reject you when they asked for a king. They rejected me. Therefore, I say to you, my brothers, we rejected Elohim. So he didn't turn his back on us. We turned our backs on him. And what your brother is doing, and he will spend the rest of his life doing. And I've spent most of my life doing this, even in corporate America. And if you know me in corporate America, you know that I'm being genuine here. You know, turning our people back to who they are as a royal people. Our sisters back to hell as a royal people. Without hating the enemy of our people. Not trusting them, you know what I'm saying? Surely not, following their wicked ways. At least when I was in my right mind. When I wasn't out there loopy in my moment of ignorance. I fell away, but I came back. And I'm going to stay back. But they will tell you that I've been true to what I'm saying. And I'm true to what I'm saying to you right now, my brothers. I'm true to you what I'm saying. That Elohim will come back to us if we turn to him. But not until. And this behavior and this suffering and this pain that we're going through, it's all self-inflicted. And when you get stuck in religion, and then you blame Elohim for religion, then you're just as guilty as the people back in the day of Samuel, who blamed Elohim, for structure and for his way, because it was interfering with their right to be a heathen. When our brothers and sisters are rejecting the word, always simply telling Elohim, I want to be a heathen. I like that way. That way is more suitable for what I want to do. And Elohim said, okay, then go the way of the heathen. But there's a price that you're going to pay for that. There's a price. And we've been paying that price. Blood in the streets. It's been a bloody, bloody price. A messy mess, for lack of a better word. Sisters, if you're listening in, it's been a bloody, bloody mess. I mean, it's just been a mess for hundreds and hundreds of years. And the so-called emancipation changed the name. It just went right from emancipation to incarceration. We were never emancipated. The 13th Amendment was just a guise to make you believe that you were liberated. Because if you read the 13th Amendment, it says, with the exception of committers of a crime, then you're no longer liberated, emancipated. In essence, you're back enslaved and you're a slave again. And to make sure that we couldn't escape that loophole, they created every kind of law known to our people. They made up laws to get us back into a perpetual state of servitude. And we're still dealing with it right now. So everything connects. This is not an old thing. This is a continual thing, is what I'm saying to you. And that yoke does not get broken until we become, first of all, knowledgeable about who we are, and then we walk in that knowledge. And neither of those two can be accomplished without a history book or a guide to lead us. And messengers, both male and female, to encourage us to obey that knowledge. Praise Yah. But let me get back to, this book I was telling you about. It's called Least We Forget. See that? Can you see it? Least We Forget. And that's what I meant a little bit earlier when I said that when you're looking at gaining knowledge, it can't be just limited to just our book. Our book is the very foundational truth of how we have to build a nation, or the foundation in rebuilding a nation. But this other information is out there too for edification, for affirmation, for confirmation. It explains a lot of the situations that we're in. When you start looking at self-esteem, for an example, why is the self-esteem of most black men so poor? That it's so poor that we won't even pull our clothes up. It's so poor that, many of us won't even try anymore. I'm talking about to be productive. I'm talking about within the community. I'm not talking about serving, this system of government. I'm not talking about going in here and killing yourself on these damn jobs who are paying you, you know what I'm saying? 1/5 of what they pay their own kind. I'm not talking about that. I understand that. I understand why you wouldn't want to be a part of it. Hell, I don't want to be a part of it anymore. But we just can't quit. We just can't just park on the side of the road and pull up a chair, with our boys and break out the beer and the wine and the dope and the drugs or whatever it is, and just sulk and just create a big nest of depressed men who are hiding their depression by distracting themselves with sports and entertainment, politics, self-hatred as a guise, to cover up that pain. There comes a time you gotta take the pain. And we're at that time. Brother, we gotta take this pain. You're never gonna recover. You're never gonna get off that chair. You're never gonna come off those streets. You're never gonna come out them streets if you're not willing to take the pain. And what I mean by that is again, accepting the fact that if you're in a mess, that you're in a mess. Accept the fact that if you're in a mess, you might not be responsible for that mess. But understand clearly, if you're coming out of that mess, it's going to be up to you. It's going to be up to us. Our sisters, as we already see, we're losing them. Not all of them, but we're losing many of them. Many of them have already thrown in the towel, so to speak. As far as they're concerned, the fight is over with. They ain't fighting no more. They're just going to do whatever they want to do and accept the consequences, which is really a sad state, but that's where they are. And in more cases than not much we're going to be able to do. Our sisters got to save themselves. But I'm going to tell you something. If we got our acts right, the saving of themselves will be a hell of a lot easier. But when they have nowhere to turn, how you going to blame them? If they can't turn back to us, who do they turn to? I'm talking about those who want to come back. Those who want to come back to Elohim. Well, part of coming back to Elohim, Elohim promised them that there will be men for them. Fathers, brothers, sons, husbands, providers, protectors. But when they look back and they don't see us, then what do they turn back to? There's nothing for them to turn back to. Therefore, we, the men of Elohim, we got to learn and find out who we are and build within ourselves and give them an opportunity to want to come back, to begin to see the beauty in the men who are amongst them, who they are from, whose women they are. Give them a reason. And I believe that given time, if Yah don't come soon, and that could be Be more sooner than a lot of what you thinking, brothers. Looking at the world's condition, that could be any day. But just in case, give them a reason. Give them some hope. Give them some hope. And that hope doesn't come because they want us. That hope comes because we want ourselves. We want to win. We're tired of losing. We're tired of looking elsewhere, for hope. Everything else we've tried, let's go back and try the truth for a change. What I mean by the truth, the Torah. Let's go. And I ain't talking about, I got to say this, I ain't talking about go try Jesus. That's bullshit. I ain't trying to try no damn Jesus. You know anything about your brother, you can take Jesus and give me some tissue paper and let me go take a dump, and I'll be gladly to wipe my ass with him. He's made up. He's fake. It's not real. It's a con game. And too many of us have confused that with the truth. Confuse him and what he's associated with it as the truth. And because that truth has been a lie to us, so we hate Elohim. No. Just call it out for what it is. That whole thing was just a white lie given to our recent forefathers as a way out of their suffering, a way out of their pain. And they passed that foolishness down to us through the clergy. And now it's time for us to tell the clergy, we don't trust you no more. You guys have lied to us. Therefore, leave us alone. Matter of fact, we need to throw them out. Throw them out of our lives. Throw them out of our families. Wherever they lie. Unless they're willing to repent and learn again. Relearn. Just like we're relearning. And if they refuse that, then throw them out with the dogs. They've done enough damage, male and female. So what I'm saying to you, we ain't talking religion here. We're talking about true history. And I'm still, praise y'all, I'm still trying to get to this book. It's going to be a little short thing, but I want to share this with you right quick. Let me show you what this society thought of our people. And why we are still in a perpetual state of pain. Why we're still in a perpetual state of shame. See, this is almost as though, what is that word? I was talking with, what is it called? When your captors have taken you captive and you have been oppressed so long by your captors that you thought to fall in love with your captors. I can't think of the name of it right now, but y'all know what I'm talking about. In other words, you thought to love your abuser. See, we have been abused so long that we no longer identify our abuser with our abuse. We just kind of blame each other now. But the truth, let me show you how some of this stuff began. Let me show you how that some of our ancestors were made to feel. Check this out. Talking about recent ancestry. Again, lest we forget. And this is page 14. This is going to be real short. And it says stolen childhood. Okay? And this is a letter from one, white man to another white man. And sisters, I hope you hear me real carefully. So when you are out there talking about, there ain't no good black one, so you're going to go get a white one. I want you to remember, this is who you're sleeping with. It says, sold for 1 cent, sold for a penny. For the love and affection. Now, this is the letter that one white man is writing to another white man about how he values our ancestors. Sold for 1 cent. For the love and the affection which I bear unto you, my son. Matter of fact, this is a father to a son. Wrote Edward Warden of Granville County, North Carolina. And for the further consideration of 1 penny to me in hand paid. In other words, I'm going to give you a penny, or you give me a penny. I do give unto him the said Thomas P. Worthen, 1 Negro girl. So this is Thomas saying to Edward, or Edward saying to Thomas, Thomas, I'm giving you this Negro girl. So you sisters, you listen. If you decided to follow this far, I want you to think about this. They saw you. This is how they saw your grandmothers. So since you over there, you know, in bed with them or over there tolerating them, being flattered by them and feeling like they're so special and they're so much better than your own men, this is what they thought about you, my sister. He says, I'm going to give you 1 penny for one Negro girl named Nutty, about 5 years old, to him, and his hairs forever. So if you think that these white men out here see you as a liberated, emancipated, free woman of color, you better understand one thing, my dear sister. That's only because they have no choice, given any choice, to have kept you as a slave, as a piece of property, to do whatever they wish to have done and wish to do to you. And some of you are letting them still do it to you. If you think for 1 second that their hearts changed, or that somehow that Lincoln or whomever, Grant, was fighting for the emancipation of you, you are sadly mistaken. The so-called Civil War was not about freeing slaves. It was about saving the Union. Simple as that. It was all about white men trying to keep their white land all together. They were fighting over property, fighting over, property. It was a land fight. It was an industrial capitalist fight. You just became the proxy. This man said he wanted you, sister. He wanted our grand. He wanted you to still be a slave. He still wanted you to be worth a penny. And brothers, that's why I say you need to share this message. This is what they thought about our sisters. And y'all all know, we all know our sisters are over here, working in some of these businesses. And, we can go in there and say something to them and they got an attitude. A white man comes in there and say something to them, they all smiles. And even if they get angry, all he got to do is come back and say good morning, and then they're smiling again. I don't like his attitude. Then the next day he walks in and, good morning, Sarah. Oh, you gonna believe, Mr. Edwards said good morning to me. He must be in a good mood. But yeah, one of us, treat them and upset them. And the next day we come and say, I'm sorry. They look at us like, I don't want to hear it. It's that syndrome. Can't think of what it's called. But it's that psychological, abuse syndrome that's still going on right now. Our sisters are dealing with it, and we're dealing with it. It goes on to read. Let me go back. Thomas P. Worthing, one Negro girl named, this is what his father is saying to him. I give you one Negro girl named Nutty. She's 5 years old. And she's yours and her hairs, any children she has, forever. 5 years old to him and his hairs. So whatever kids he had meant that every kid that she would have, he intended us to always be in this situation. Therefore, the 13th Amendment had that clause in there, except for the committance of a crime. I'm looking behind me because I even have that book. But I would tell you guys, I don't see it. I'm sure it's around here somewhere. But, I think, let me give me a moment, okay? Praise y'all. I got to do this. Thank you. Hope you took a bathroom break. We've been going almost an hour. This book is called The Great American Documents, okay? And this book has speeches from Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, John Kennedy, and many, many more. But this book also has the Constitution of the United States. It has the Declaration of Independence. It has all this stuff in there. The Bill of Rights in here as well. But I'm going to go to you. This is the Bill of Rights. Just so you know. All right. The Congress of the United States Bill of Rights. You can see that down here at the very bottom. The Bill of Rights. You can see that. Okay. And that's why I said, brothers and sisters, you got to have more than just the book. But the book is the foundation. But don't be afraid to explore beyond it. Just don't get confused. Don't go so far out there that all of a sudden you turn your back on Elohim and become, thought this pro-African and all this Egyptology and all that foolishness. Okay, that's not what this is about. This is just being informed so you can help understand the pain. You can help understand the conditions that we're in and why they still exist. Same thing, my sisters, okay? But let me go to Article 13. Right here. Okay, just so you know where I am. See at the very top, Article 13. Let me read it to you. Now, this is supposed to be the Emancipation Statement, okay? It says, passed by Congress February 1st, 1865, and ratified December 18, 1866. Section 1. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as, this is the part I want, except, remember that part, except as punishment for a crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. Now we're talking about mass, we're talking about incarceration. So, a lot of you brothers out there who, talk about I would never been no slave and I ain't nobody's slave and I would have did this. Well, if you're in prison, brother, guess what? You're a slave again. That's what it says. It says, except for punishment for a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted shall exist in the United States or any place subject to a United States jurisdiction. Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by the appropriate legislation. So that's supposed to be, the Emancipation, law, the 13th Amendment. But as you just heard me read clearly, they put a clause in there, except if you commit a crime. And we don't even have to commit a crime to end up back in slavery. All prison is, penitentiary is another word for plantation. And sisters, this includes you too. And while you're out there, in the streets doing all this stuff, just understand, are you really free? I think the issue is, again, on this whole psychological syndrome that we're dealing with, again, loving our enemies, I think has caused us to not understand that we are still under a form of slavery, and yet we have learned to live with it, accept it, and in many cases, embrace it as a rite of passage. I know a lot of these men and putting themselves right back into their captives' hands by disobeying the law, statutes, and commandments. Because you know what? If we were practicing the Torah, my brothers, if we were practicing the Torah, my sisters, that their little prison would be filled with them, not us. Because we have morals and values and standards inside of our system, under our laws, that will never allow us to be victimized by their laws. And in addition, somebody say, well, that's not going to stop them. They take our men innocent. They take our women. They put innocent men and women in prison. I don't disagree. Of course they do. But what I do believe is that Elohim would break their hands if they tried it. I believe that Elohim would tear their system down if they tried it. Remember, he stopped fighting for us because we rejected him. So if we turn back to him, he would destroy their system of government. They would never be able to oppress us ever again. I mean, that's what 2nd Ezra, I want to say 6 and 9 says, that he's going to end their rulership. They're in rulership right now. But he says at some point, he's going to end their rulership. But that's going to come when we turn back to him. At least the elect amongst us. They have ruled for a long time. But I just want you to understand that rulership came because of our disobedience, my brothers. That's why they have that authority of power. They're not smart enough to have that on their own. They're the gods of this world, those demons, the fallen ones, the watchers, the ones who teach them all these wicked behaviors. They're not greater than Elohim. Those demons who control them are not greater than Elohim. The problem is we sold out. Yeshua was a perfect example to tell you don't sell out. But we sold out. At least our ancestors did. And unfortunately, as long as we reject the truth, then we're just as guilty as our ancestors were. The blood that was on our ancestors' hand for betraying the nation, their mothers, their daughters, their sisters, their fathers, their brothers, their sons. When you reject the Torah, when we reject the Torah, that blood is still on our hands. That's why this is so important. That's why the statement, those who forget their past are doomed to repeat it. That's why it is so important. That's why we need to take heed to the word. The 13th Amendment was just a throwaway statement. That was just a justification for them to end the war, but then reinstate slavery. And they did it by making up new laws, put new laws on the book, put laws on the book that didn't even exist. Vagrant laws. If you didn't have a job, you went to jail. Pig laws. If you stole a pig, you got 5 years in prison. You know, what else? Jim Crow laws. If you did something, you went into a restaurant, you did anything that would be considered a civil disturbance, you got locked up, if not killed. Black codes. Not slave code, black codes. And many other laws they have on the book right now. How about this? The laws that they had with marijuana, crack cocaine laws. You think they changed? They have not changed. They have not changed. Crack cocaine versus powder cocaine. Think about it. You know, how many of our brothers and sisters are in prison right now for marijuana, you know, for selling marijuana or being in possession of marijuana, when marijuana is legal now. Even in this city, it's not legal, but they can't even give you a ticket if you have, you know, a joint or two. But they're not releasing our brothers and our sisters out of prison. So, you know, nothing has changed. It's just, you know, they just changed the crime scene. They told our women, you know, hey, we can do these things for you. We'll put these programs in place for you. And then as we lock your men up, you won't have any hardship. They told our brothers, you know, hey, look, you got problems, just go out here and hustle in these streets. You can do it. You know, grind. And he used the Jay-Z's of the world, the 50 cents of the world. And tell you, you know, that selling of drugs and narcotics and exporting your people pay off. They use the, you know, the Beyoncés, you know, the Cardi B's, the Meg Thee Stallions, you know, the one with the hot sauce at Popeyes, to tell our sisters that being a whore pays off, or at least acting like one. Why? So our sisters can die of AIDS and STDs and all kind of cancers that are disease related because they have misused their bodies. See, nothing has changed. And they know it will not change if they keep us ignorant to who we are. And that's why it's important to know who we are, my brothers. That's why we can't forget. You know what I'm saying? Well, better yet, that's why we were warned. Don't forget. And here's the rest of that letter. And you see this little thing here? This is an actual copy of that letter. It's a little bit longer, believe it or not, but that's a part of that letter. And this book is full of those kind of documents, I might add. It goes on to read. It says, I'm going to go here one more time. I know I read it, but I'm going to read one. Let's go to the beginning of this letter one more time. Sold, S-O-L-D, because this slow tongue of mine sometimes don't pronounce words the right way. Selling. Sold for 1 penny. This is a letter to the Father, to the Son. He said, for the love and affection I have for you, my son. This is his way of expressing love to his son. Sisters, listen. This is how the white man expresses love to his son. Wrote Edward Warden of Granville County, North Carolina. And for the further consideration of 1 penny to be paid to me in hand, I do give unto him, my son, Thomas Wortham, 1 Negro girl named Nutty, about 5 years old to him, and his hairs forever. Nutty was not alone. In other words, she was not the only child this happened to. Nutty was not alone. Many of our ancestors were sold as children or given as gifts, passed lovingly from one generation of slaveholders to the next. And brothers, sisters, this is who you choose to have a love affair with? This is who you choose, to I don't know, establish some type of brotherhood with? This is who you want to integrate with? Them? Those? And then you wonder, again, why this self-hatred is there. For 1 penny? You mean to tell me a little girl, a little Israelite girl, a little more than 150 years ago, was worth a penny? A penny. And many of our sisters right now will tell you, without, I know I'm a queen. I'm worth everything. I'm worth. Our sisters come and tell us. And brothers, y'all know this is true. And sisters, some of y'all know I'm right. Not all of our sisters. Again, this is not a this is a holistic statement. This is not a holistic statement. I'm sorry. There's always the anomaly or the exceptional sister out there. But many of our sisters, oh, I'm invaluable when it comes to us. I'm invaluable. I'm a queen. I'm too good for y'all. I'm too good for you. But that same sister go get in the bed with the ancestors of Edward Wortham for less than a penny. It's the truth. And many of you brothers, you're just as bad. What are you willing to sell your soul for? And really, what's really sad is that many of us, we don't even know that we're selling our soul. I was looking at, the book of Tobit again. And I think it's worthy to be shared. Tobit is a apocryphal book. Tobit is a prophet. Tobit is one of our books. Let me read this to you. Just because many of us, our people, think that somehow or another I'm being sinister when I talk like this. Oh, he's just being evil, or he's being angry, or he's dealing with a bunch of toxic energy. He is narcissistic. Amen. This is this is what gets said. I'm just saying. It's the lie that they tell. The convenient lie, right? Cognitive dissonance. Tobit, chapter 4. I'm going to show you where I'm getting this from, because look, after I share this with you, I want you to think about Nutty. Think about little Nutty. You probably, some of our great-great-grandmothers, same thing happened to some of our great-great-grandmothers that happened to Nutty. And yes, some of you sisters out here, some of you brothers out here have forgotten. And that book says, don't you ever forget who these people are. And this is why Elohim wrote this, so you know why I'm about to read what I'm about to read to you. But I want you to take a look at this, sister. If you're there, sister, and brother, see what I got highlighted right there? Excuse these little ugly fingernails of mine. See right there? Now I'm going to read to you what I have highlighted. This is in our book. Some call it the Bible. We got to get away from that name. All right? It says, Tobit. Look at the top of there. See, it says Tobit, so many of y'all know how to spell it. See, it says Tobit. It's in Hebrew, and then it's in English. Tobit. If you have a Google on your cell phone, you can Google it up. You can Google that up. Go Google up Tobit chapter 4, verse 12. All right, brothers, sisters, Google it. So you know your brother is not speaking out of a position of hatred. This is what it says. This is what I have highlighted. Beware of all the whoredom, my son. Chiefly take a woman of the seed of your fathers, and take not a strange woman to be your woman, which means to be your wife, which is not of your father's tribe. For we are the children of the prophets. Now, sisters, are you listening to me? Sisters, are y'all listening to what I'm reading? Better yet, are y'all listening to Elohim? Because Elohim is saying this to this prophet. He's saying that you have no business marrying up with the heathen, although everywhere you turn on television, everywhere you look, you see this intermixing going on. And you have been told that, that Elohim has no problem with that. Well, unless he's a liar, he does have a problem with it. Unless Elohim is a liar. And I would be very careful if I were you, sister, to let that word come out of my mouth. Very careful. Our book says that many things we could be forgiven for, but blasphemy, in other words, putting, lying words on Elohim, he said you will never be forgiven for that. That is an automatic death sentence to you. Any of us, sisters and brothers, that's an automatic death sentence. And I'm talking about, if you don't say, well, what do you mean death sentence? I'm talking about eternal damnation fire when you die. But let me, just so you know, for clarity purpose, so there's no question what I'm reading to you or who he's talking about. All right? If you're Israel, and if you're a Negro, if you're nutty, if you're an ancestor of nutty, then he's talking about you, brother. He's talking about you, sister. If you can trace your ancestry back to America, slavery, okay, talking about you. All of us. He says, I'm going to start again from the beginning. Praise God. Beware of all the whoredom, my son. And he says, and chiefly take a woman of the seed of your fathers, and take not a strange woman to be your wife, which is not of your father's tribe or your father's nation. Talking about Israel. And if you don't think I'm talking about Israel, he's going to clear this up. For we are the children of the prophets. That's how special we are, my brothers. You're not anybody. You're not a nobody. You are somebody. Brother, you are somebody. If you're listening to me right now, I'm telling you, I don't give a crap what anybody has said to you. Your mama could have told you you're nothing but a piece of crap. Your father could have said it. Your woman could be saying that to you. Your children can say that. They are liars. They are misled. They still got that slave syndrome going on in their heads because they don't understand the root cause of the matter. They don't understand that we are the victims of a racist, hateful nation that has always hated us. Even when they come to us in love and tolerance, they still do. And except they repent sincerely and give back everything their forefathers stole, they will never, ever be accepted by our Creator. Never. They can be religious, they can practice, they can follow, they can do whatever they want. They can talk about white Jesus or black Jesus, they can tell you anything. Have they repented? Have they given back what their fathers have stolen? If they haven't done those two things, they are not going where we're going. They are not of us. I don't give a damn what they say. They are liars. They are wolves in sheep's clothing. There's a condition that they have to meet, just like there's a condition that we have to meet. All right. I get accused sometimes of being angry. Well, I said this earlier. If there is sisters listening to this message, I said early on that this was a man's message and that you should not be in your feelings about what I'm saying. It's men talking to men. We are lions talking to lions. Unless a man is over there getting effeminate, unless there's an effeminate man listening to me and he's all in his feelings, then you shouldn't be in your feelings because, again, you're listening in on somebody else's conversation, which you're welcome to. But you're not welcome to be getting, taking a position against us for having men-to-men talk. You always talking about why don't the men get together and help each other, and why aren't these men getting together and building with each other? Well, that's what we're doing. And we don't need you on the sideline, cherry picking and throwing stones and hiding your hands. Either you with us or you're not. Let us be the men that we're supposed to be. And I have to say that because I know how Satan works. And he'll get into one of you sisters real quick and get you starting all kind of trouble unnecessarily. Settle down. It's the way we talk when we're passionate. At least some of us. He says, we are the children of the prophets. Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We, Judah, Israel, we are their children. So it's talking to us when it tells us not to marry the stranger. And he goes on to say, remember, my son, lest you forget. Remember, my son, that our father from the beginning, even they all married women of their own kindred and were blessed in their children, and their seed shall inherit the earth. Why you think they're pushing this stuff out here now? This intersexuality, this intermarriage. You don't think these same heathens, the Edward Wardens and the Thomas Warden, you don't think they know? Just because you don't know, because they hid it from you in a book, or they took it out the book and hid it from you, that does not mean they do not know. You can go to any so-called white man that has the sense of a goddamn flea. He knows what the 13th Amendment is. And he knows exactly why that clause was put in there, and far as you can lock them up and then they're back in slavery. He knows exactly why that's written. That's why they have an aggressive, hostile police force, which is the migration of the slave catcher to take and put you right back in their legislative system, and they hire judges and lawyers and district attorneys and whomever to keep you locked up there as long as they can. This is all systematic racism under a different veil. This is the wolf in sheep's clothing system of oppression. And they don't want you to know, brother. They don't want us to have these conversations. They'll tell you, don't believe them. They just angry. Don't believe them. They don't know what they're talking about. Well, I just gave you I've given you one of their documents to tell you what they're up to. And I've just given you one of our authors, one of our forefathers who put this book together to tell you what they're up to, and don't forget what they're up to. And I've just given you the ultimate truth to tell you what they're up to and why you should not, or why we should not cooperate with them. In other words, I want to call it the Stockholm Syndrome. Maybe is it the Stockholm Syndrome? Y'all can tell me. I think that's what it is, the Stockholm Syndrome. Praise y'all. That many of our men, many of our women are dealing with the Stockholm Syndrome. We've been abused so long, we've learned to love them that hate us and hate them that love us. Let me say that to you again. We're in the Stockholm Syndrome. We have been conditioned to love our oppressor and hate our sisters and hate our brothers. What a horrible, horrible condition to find ourselves in. And why? Because we reject the truth of the book. We rejected the Torah. All this information, and I'm not going to go to Ezekiel right now because I've gone longer than I wanted to go. And sometimes, well, all the time, if we're wise, we have to let Elohim used us as vessels, talking about the messengers. We have to let him use us as vessels and take us where he wants us to go versus where we thought we would be going. So this is where he wanted us to be. He wanted some clarification here. He wanted us to understand who we are. We are the seed of Noah, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. We are the children of the prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Tobit, Daniel. Well, Daniel didn't have any children. He was a Enoch. Enoch? No, eunuch. Other day I was talking, said Jezebel had a bunch of Enochs. I meant eunuchs. Eunuch is simply men who don't have a natural desire for them. They're not homosexuals. They just, well, some may be. I don't know. But they don't necessarily, have that thing, Anyway, I digress. But, we are the children of the prophets. So if you want to know, what your fathers or your great-great-great-great-great-grandfather starts, my brother, a lot of you saying, man, my father wasn't in my life. I didn't have no father. My father was wayward. He just didn't give a damn. Well, your father probably, in many cases, was worse off than you. Psychologically, I'm talking about. He was under the Stockholm Syndrome, too. He probably hated himself, therefore he hated his family. So he abandoned them. And he's going to deal with that, by the way. He's not getting away with that. He might have hurt us. He may have hurt you, my brother, sister. He might have hurt you, but he got an answer for that. He's not getting away. Nor will you. Nor will we. If we continue to conduct ourselves like the fathers who rejected us and the mothers who rejected us. They're not your excuse. You're an adult now. Time for you to make your own decisions. At least that's what you tell. That's what you tell everybody. I'm a man. I'm a woman. Okay, act like it then. Stop blaming them. Not saying they're not guilty, but it's time to move on. And if they let you down, guess what? There's a whole bunch of people in this book that didn't let you down. Why aren't you turning to them? Sisters, why aren't you turning to the prophets? Brothers, why aren't you turning to the prophets then? If your mother, was not there for you, your father wasn't there for you, your family weren't there for you, your family right now is rejecting you for the stance that you're taking, why don't you turn back to the family who still loves you? The family, just like Edward wrote to his son Thomas and left that note for Thomas to let Thomas know how much he loved him, that he's going to give him one of our children for a penny. One of our ancestors for a penny. One of our female ancestors was only worth a penny to them devils. Just like he left a record of what he did. Why aren't you looking at the record that Elohim left for us? Based off of what he can do. Why do they have to be better than us? Why do their records have to matter and our records don't? Why do we have to study their records but reject our records? You tell me why. Tell me that's not Stockholm Syndrome. Loving the thing that you should hate and hating the thing that you should love. Loving your oppressor and hating your sister. Loving your oppressor and hating your brother. Tell me that's not a classic definition of Stockholm Syndrome. It is. It is. And Elohim told me to tell you that. To use the book, to use the history, to use their words to expose them for the reconciling of us. And I'm going to do it. Praise you. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. All I ask is that you stand with me and help. Be a part of recovering our people. That's all I ask of you, sister, if you're listening in. Brother, directly to you. I'm just asking you to help me help you. I need you to help me. Going back to the Torah, going back to the book, learning about who we are as a royal priesthood. Understanding why Elohim don't want us mixing with the wicked amongst our. That's why when Yeshua talked about the weeds that were growing with the flowers or with the wheat, he said that the weeds would try to kill us. It would choke it out. In other words, he was saying they would try to integrate, mix in, to kill us, not to help us. And when the disciples said, let me get out here and let me fix it. He said, no, don't you fix it, because you're going to hurt. You're going to end up taking out some good trying to get rid of the bad. He said, let me do it. And how is he going to do it, brothers? How is he going to unmix this vomit? The way he's going to unmix this vomit is by using the word and using the messengers to lead us back to the truth. And then when we get to that truth is going to break the yoke of oppression, depression, possession. The truth, the book, the Torah, the laws, the scriptures, the commandments. That's what's going to break it. That's what's going to get us back to our first self. That's going to get the land back to us. Now I'm going to wrap this message up. I'm going to wrap it up. But I'm going to read this to you one more time, brothers. Sisters, open up your ears. Hear this. Because some of you, you're still sleeping with the enemy. You're still tolerating the enemy. You're still cooperating with your enemy. You're still cooperating with the people who sold your grandma nutty for a penny. And they don't want me to say that. I'm saying it. Don't cooperate with them. They are evil. As he said, he wanted Nutty to be a heir to his son, Edward, and he wanted her to be a slave and her children slaves forever. That's what he said, forever. And you think they changed? Is the penitentiary system still out here? Is poverty out here? Drugging our people still out here? Poor services for our people? Ghettos still out here? Program put in place to lock our men and women up still out here? Substandard housing is still out here? Affordable housing, which means Project and Section 8 housing, which is a cesspool for drugs and debauchery, is that still out here? Are the suburbs where they live still out here? Are benefits that they have access to still out here that we can't get still here? Redlining. Government laws and rules that protect them at the expense of destroying us. Are those things still here? Well, why would you think that's not still here? Of course it's still here. It's written in their laws forever. And ever just means till Yah comes back. And that's going to be pretty soon. If you look at all the signs around us. The signs of the end is what I mean. Tobit, chapter 4, verse 12. Beware of the whoredom, my son. Chiefly take a woman of the seed of your fathers, means babies that we make. And take not a strange woman to be your woman, which is not of your father's tribe. In other words, so-called Negro African American. For we are the children of the prophets. You are royal, sister. You're a royal, brother. If you're not still even if you are still oppressed by the Stockholm Syndrome, you're still, you're kind of like, what's that story of, what's the one? Cinderella? That's the one with the stepdaughter? The stepdaughter who got abused and misused. I mean, it's a story. It's a truth hidden in that story. Amen? That prince, that ain't nothing but, the redeemer of us. Coming from among those wolves. Not to marry up with them, but to come back home to your men and for us to return back to our women. Wherever they are, scattered on this earth. He goes on to read, which is not of your father's tribe. We are the children of the prophet. Brothers, we are the children. Now, see, you can beat your chest on that. Sisters, you can rest your your lovely head, and you can sleep on that with your eyes closed in safety and protection, assurance that you are loved and that you are precious, that you are unique, that you are one of a kind. See that little pretty little angel up there? Right up there? That's a sister. See that sign over there? Seek Yahuwah? Turned out there, right? That's my reminder, along with the book. You notice what's under her? Elohim. That's who's under you, sister. If you open up your eyes and open up your heart back to your people and come out from among these heathens, get out that world, come back into the safetyness of the covering of Elohim. Be the real queen, princess, royalty. After all, you are the daughter of the prophets. You are the daughters of Noah. You are the daughters of Abraham. You are the daughters of Isaac. You are the daughters of Jacob. Remember that, my daughter, that your mothers from the beginning, even they all married men of their own kindred and they were blessed in their children, and their seed shall inherit the land or the earth. So that message is for you too, my sister. Praise Yah. So that's all I have for you. You know, Yah is beautiful. So are you, brother. You know, you're beautiful in your right mind. You know, don't let these situations, these conditions turn you against Elohim any longer, brother. Come back. He says, seek me, and you'll find me, my brother. He said, knock, brother, and I'm going to open the door to you. Right? He said, ask, and I'll give back to you everything the cankerworm has stolen. In other words, everything our enemies have stolen from us, taken from us, including little 5-year-old Nutty, our heritage, our land, our self-respect. He said, I'll give it back to you. But only when you turn back to me. If my people, which are called by my name, let's finish this up the right way. Praise Yah. Go to 2 Chronicles. Chapter 7. I like to do this because I want you guys to know. When I tell you I've been studying for a long time, I really have been studying for a long time. I love my people. I love Elohim and I love my people. I do. And I study to show myself approved, a workman that needed not to be ashamed of my knowledge. And that so I can rightly break down the word as I bring it forward to you, so you can take that word and share it with others as you grow and learn who you are through this very same word as I am doing. 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 14 reads, if my people, the children of Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the prophets, if my people, which are called by my name, what is our name? Israel. If you're here in America, more than likely Judah or Levi, shall humble themselves, means turning away, get rid of the pride that tells you to hate yourself, hate your kind, hate your men, hate your women. Humble themselves and pray. Amen. In other words, have a conversation with Elohim. Get in the word. All that's a form of prayer, interaction, intercession. And seek his face. And turn from our wicked ways. Because that's what we see now. There's a lot of wickedness going out here with our people. I've described a lot of that. They put a system in place to enslave you when they entice you to do this wickedness. And because of the Stockholm Syndrome, right? Stockholm, I can't say it now. The Stockholm Syndrome. Because of the Stockholm Syndrome, we're acting out the wickedness. We have learned the ways of the heathen. We embrace the ways of the heathen. We embrace the heathen. We're even, giving our bodies to the heathens by choice. Nutty didn't have a choice, sisters. Nutty was sold for a penny. She didn't have a choice. Many of our people are doing it, and no one is making it. You're doing it by choice. That is That is the very definition of Stockholm Syndrome. Look the word up. He says, and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. Now this is where the rubber meets the road, right here. This is where it gets down to, to a low grade here, my sisters, my brothers. This is where it comes right down to it. This is the ultimate truth right here, brother. Then I will hear from heaven. That's what he's saying. He will hear us and will forgive our sins and heal our land. The same land that we were promised through Noah in the book of Torah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He's saying that our children will be blessed with what was stolen from us by them same heathens who sold our children, who are still here. Their children are still here, and they're still doing everything in their power to oppress us, divide us, corrupt our seed, encourage our men to be girls, our girls to be boys, the killing of our babies, like that's a pro thing to do, and much, much worse. When you start talking about the drugs, mass incarceration, inoculation, etc. Praise Yah. Let me end this message. Excuse me. One more time. Praise Yah. Let me say this. Let me end this message with a quick little prayer. Amen. Hallelujah. And I had this on my refrigerator just as my reminder, okay? I kind of know it. I can recite it verbatim, but I want to get it right. I think it would be the appropriate way to end today's conversation with you, my brothers. Okay? Here's that prayer that I have for you. Amen? Yahuwah bless you. Yahuwah guard you. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. DFG. Love you, my brother. My sister. You too. DFG. Talk to you later. Bye now.